सार्थक एक
Hi
चार्ट
everyone. I would like to start with welcoming Varun Sridhar, who is the CEO of Paytm Money. He's a very distinguished professional who's worked across a variety of sectors and with a variety of companies, starting from banking and then moving on to as a consultant and then working with BNP Paribas, one of the bigger companies. And I think from past 3+ years, he's been the CEO of Paytm Money, scaling it to an enormous level. As far as I'm aware about the numbers, they are doing upwards of 3,000 crores as an AUM, or I may be incorrect on that. I think Varun can correct me, but
much more, but I'll talk about it.
sorry, way more. Sorry, so could be 3 lakh crores also. So I would Varun would go ahead with that. So today's session is more about learning about wealth creation, about learning that how should we actually go with the stock markets. Stock market seems a very fancy word. We are all enamored by it. I'm reading articles on a daily basis that the number of people investing into stocks market, mutual funds, by themselves or through SIPs or trusting someone is growing day by day, and thanks to Paytms and the Zero Adhas and Grows, other companies which are also involved, we are increasing the the stock market base that is investing into the equities, debt, hybrid. There are so many things that are out there that I believe that as an individual, someone who's just started will get lost, and there's a fair bit of risk involved. It's not that everyone can make money. There's always a risk involved. There are safer bets, there are riskier bets. People, it seems very easy to, your money is growing at 20%, 30% rather than the fixed deposit of 7 to 8%. So it seems very easy what numbers are shown. There are people posting on Instagram that their portfolio is increasing on a 20% on a daily basis. They invested in this stock, it grew 20%. So everybody gets enamored so easily by those numbers. So we are here to learn from the best about what are the real numbers, how easy it is, how difficult it could be, and do you trust someone or not. So let's begin. Let's learn from the best. Let's learn from Varun that Varun is simple enough. If someone's a beginner, what part of their percentage, what part of their daily income or monthly income, or what part of their wealth they should start investing? If someone is saying earning 50,000 rupees a month, what do you suggest should be their risk appetite in their portfolio to start investing, and what is good enough for wealth creation?
First of all, thank you. Pleasure. आप लोगों ने मुझे invite किया. I'm very very happy. I'll try and do both Hindi English in between, I guess. And for me, I think I'm very happy being here because A, I was happy to see the mixed audience. Right. B, I think it's great to when Dr. Sarthak was speaking, I think I'm going to remove the word doctor from his name, because he sounds like a stock market specialist now. So I'm very happy. And we'll talk about Paytm Money a bit later. I guess what's fun and what's interesting for all of you. You're giving some precious time to me. I think it's going to be. I'll try and make it as interesting and as useful for you, and we'll start talking about the markets. Like Sarthak actually said, and I'm not going to call him doctor anymore. Okay, because I think he spoke truly like a specialist. Like Sarthak actually said, I think the stock market, there's only one goal actually in real life, right? And the goal of life is to live life. At least this has been my philosophy. कि यार एक ही जिंदगी है, उसमें अगर आप जी नहीं पाओगे तो what is the point? And then money, unfortunately or fortunately, has become a means of happiness. So एक बार I was very young, I calculated the values. So somebody told me money can't buy happiness. And when you use the word can't with me, I go back and do some maths. Okay, so I went back, मैंने Excel sheet खोली in true style, and I tried to calculate how much money do I need to be happy. Okay, that's a very strange question, right? Like, and so I literally said, okay, what are the things that I can buy with money that make me happy? And what are the things that, I can't buy love. I can't buy parental blessings. I can't buy good friends. These are things you can't buy. But can you buy a decent house? Yes, you can. Can you buy a car? Yes, you can. Can you buy a cycle? So I live in Goa, by the way, and I work remotely. Paytm Money is fully digital. Right. So if you ever come to Goa, you have a friend, and then, you have somebody who you can come to. But for me, life, therefore, I tried to make an Excel sheet saying, what does happiness mean? Or meri material needs kya hai, non-material needs kya hai? Right? Like I put both together. And then I said, okay, what is it? How much do I need to save? And way back, when I was young, I was 14, 15, my dad used to say something to me, which is a very interesting thing. And, dads are always wrong. Jab aap young hote ho, dads are always wrong. When you become like me and you start losing hair, you remember what your dad said, right? So he used to say income minus saving is equal to expense. I will say that again. Income minus saving is equal to expense, and not income minus expense is equal to saving. Very, very profound thought in all your lives. Okay, if there's one thing you should take away from this meeting, conversation, discussion, is income minus saving is equal to expense, right? So the minute you think like that, then I think, Sarthak, the question gets answered very easily, saying, "Acha, mujhe kitna bachana hai?" Right? And which is a tough question. I have always had a minimum rule since I was 18. I got my, I became financially independent at 17 and a half. I told my parents taking money from you is a problem because then you ask me some things. So I wanted freedom. And when you want freedom, you have to earn it yourself, right? So I became independent, and I've had a golden rule since 18 that I save 20% of whatever I make first up, like literally, right? And if I don't save 20, jo bach gaya, wo I spend to earn my happiness, if you may, because I know one day I'm going to go to God and, there's nothing left, right? So I think, therefore, that for me, it's been a golden rule at 20. It doesn't apply to everybody, right? Because each one has his own need, has his own situation. Then the question is, okay, Varun, good, you do 20. Should I do 30? Should I do 15? What should I invest in, right? That's the next immediate question that comes to my mind. And I'll answer that, and then maybe Sarthak will follow on with the questions. Is for me, the way to calculate is across 3 parameters. First parameter, सबसे पहले जो मैं बोलता हूँ, which is most important, is what I call asset allocation, right? मतलब, how much money do you put in what? It is very basics. Actually, finance is very, very simple. इंडिया में हम सब पढ़ाते हैं, ग्रेट चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, डॉक्टर, आर्किटेक्ट, साइंटिस्ट, मिशंस कर लेंगे हम लोग, लेकिन 500 रुपए की SIP कैसे करनी है वो नहीं सिखाएगा कोई, right? Unfortunately. So the truth of that is, it's a difficult subject. No, it's not. It's very simple. So there are 3 things. First is asset allocation. Sounds like a big word, but what it means is, if you have 100 rupees, if you have 1,000 rupees, if you have 10,000 rupees, doesn't matter. How do you allocate it in different products? Golden rule, please don't keep all your eggs in one basket. अगर सब एक चीज में डाल दोगे आप, तो आपको पता नहीं, right? You don't know whether you're optimizing or not. So what I do is, I've always done asset allocation. I picked up this knowledge somewhere when I was 24, 25. And I'll tell you why. Because the first stock I bought, please don't ask me which stock to buy. I'm a bad stock picker. The first stock I bought was when I was 16. I bought IDBI Bank. और सबको पता है बैंक की हालत और स्टॉक प्राइस की हालत. Okay, if you don't know, अगर आपको नहीं पता है, तो बैंक is still in trouble. I forced my dad to do an IPO for that. और वो अभी तक ऐसे ही पड़ा हुआ है, right? But it's a great certificate I have at me, because it taught me hard lessons of life, that please don't put all your eggs in one basket. Split it. तो asset allocation होता है, and we'll talk about detail कि कितना आप बॉन्ड में डालोगे, कितना FD में डालोगे, कितना स्टॉक में डालोगे, कितना ट्रेडिंग करोगे, कितना ETF में करोगे, कितना म्यूचुअल फंड SIP करोगे, large cap, mid cap, small cap, right? Maximum there are 10 options. Simple way, 100 divided by 10, 10, 10 each. Life is simple. Some people that complicate it from there. नहीं 10 की जगह इसमें 20 करेंगे, इसमें 15 करेंगे. Okay, तो थोड़ा सा बात करते हैं थोड़ी देर में. But first principle, asset allocation. In India, there are maximum 10 varieties.
Just a precursor in that, when you say asset allocation, a lot of viewers will always have this question: is it only stocks? Yeah, India has been very traditional with gold, real estate. The first thing that comes into gold is the safest bet, or we do real estate, or we do something or the other, FD, and then stocks comes at a very last phase, because you don't have any physical कुछ चीज आपके हाथ में नहीं है, जो Indians की एक होती है. Then स्टॉक्स में रिस्क बहुत है, आपको क्या पता कंपनी क्या कर रही है, और whatever, equity market, don't know. So correct. Because of this, I think Indians preferably, don't trust or are not very big. For them, is stock an asset or not? As I said, the precursor question, where you're saying ki asset allocate to kare between the equity markets, between like SIPs or mutual funds and bonds and other hybrid ETFs and all of that. But how do you turn Indians? What do you tell them? Ki where I personally feel ki real estate is like एक minimum amount होना चाहिए, 20 lakh, 25 lakh, something minimal to, it's a very big investment. Gold also, okay, smaller investment is there, it's growing with time. How liquidable it is or not is a second question. But real stocks is something that you can start with 500 rupees or 100 rupees or 2000 rupees. And that's the beauty about it, that's probably when you also started, or I also started, because it's the easiest, smallest tangible thing that you can start investing, and you can start seeing growing it every day. So for all the viewers, can you just go back and tell them ki Q stocks versus not others, or everything is good, but how does the beauty of stock market lies, or what is the beauty about equities and all of that?
Yeah, no, the answer is extremely simple, right? The answer is make your money work harder than you do, right? That's a golden rule of life. When you sleep, your money should work. Okay, how do you do that? उसके लिए ना आप बाकी लोगों से काम कराते हो बेसिकली. आप बाकी लोगों से काम कैसे कराओगे? आप उनकी कंपनी में पैसा डालो. फॉर एग्जांपल, सार्थक runs a company. If Sarthak was to do an IPO, I would put, let's say, 100 rupees in Sarthak. Okay, Paytm is a listed company. When you put money, all of us work hard all day long to try and do better. So when you are sleeping as an investor, we are actually working 24 hours, right? And so India, as it is, if you put your money in a fixed deposit or a savings account, you're losing money. Actually, you're not winning money, because your every rupee that you keep in a savings account, fixed deposit every day, is actually a losing value because of inflation, nothing else. तो आप जो 100 रुपए की ब्रेड आज खरीद सकते हो, आज से 5 साल बाद वही bread will be double the price, but your money in a savings account will not even be able to buy that one piece of bread or Coca-Cola or bottle of water or a cinema. So bank accounts essentially are meant not for you to build wealth. They're meant for you to keep small cash when you need it, right? Why is FD good? Because FD people tell you, hey, look, it's nice. आपको एक fixed interest मिल जाता है, आप खुश हो जाते हो. But actually the truth is 5 साल के FD में you lose more than you win. So then what are the other options, right? Why stocks? Stocks is very simple. You are investing in India. अगर आपको लगता है that India is going to do well, then there's a very simple way to do it. What I would tell people is, a lot of people say, Varun, I don't know whether I should take Reliance. I don't know whether I should take Tata, whether I should do something else. I say, don't use your head. Please go. There is something called Nifty 50 ETF. बहुत ही stupid simple चीज है. It sounds complex. आप कहोगे यार वरुण आपने अपनी पहली चीज इतनी complex बताई, but it is really stupid. Forget what it is called. It's called Nifty 50 ETF. Okay, forget what it's called, but what it means is the top 50 companies of India. You put money in. It is literally 170, 180 rupees for one unit. Unit's literally cheaper than a coffee or a chai that you all pay at a Chayos or a Starbucks or wherever you have. So if you can buy that one, right, then you're investing in 50 large companies of India. Like, where will you get the chance to be owners of the CEOs of the 50 large companies in India who will work 20 hours to make something happen? So then that's point 2, that it is easy to do, and you can literally say, I don't want to do stock picking. मुझे नहीं आता है, मुझे नहीं समझना है और मुझे समझना भी नहीं, क्यों समझो? So that is the second reason why you do it. Third reason is, as time has progressed, right? If you want your money to work harder than you, the only way for you is to participate in the India growth story, right? India is growing. और अगर आपको करना है, there are only 3 large options. There is bank accounts, but वहाँ पे आपको पता है you're not participating in the growth story. The bank is, you are not. Okay. The second story where you want to participate is you can take government bonds or corporate bonds. If you have very low risk appetite, you can buy a bond, right? आप 10%, 12% का bond खरीद सकते हो. It's a bit better than FD, but it still doesn't allow you, but it's very safe, protected. Government bond आपको मिलेगा FD से ज़्यादा interest rate पे, which is much more secure than a fixed deposit. So you can buy a central government bond. For example, you go on Paytm Money, एक click पे आप 100 रुपए का government bond खरीद सकते हो with a 39-year lock-in. Okay, and you can sell it also. आपको बेचना है तो instantly बेचो, FD की तरह रेट नहीं कटता है.
Let's make it a little simple for the audience, कि उनको let's not suggest, मतलब एक broad level पे बताएं कि lot of people, जैसे I was saying ना, get enamored. उनको खुद चूज करना चाहिए कि रिलायंस खरीदें, टाटा TCS खरीदें, HDFC खरीदें, या because the uncertainty उनको पता नहीं है, they don't know what is a good stock or a bad stock, or what company will do well. Will this be a good company? You're rightly saying that all of them are working for you, but do they trust them? Will they judge them? I mean, you can read in the news every day.
I hear you very well, and here is my answer. You can't always all your life travel in an Uber. You can't all your life sit in a cart and get pushed. At one moment, you have to learn to walk, talk yourself. You have to learn to drive yourself. That's the choice, right? So, and that's where I'll go back to asset allocation for 5 minutes and say, hey, look, is equity risky? Yes, it is. There are many ways to get into equity. There is something called mutual fund SIP. You can still do equity. Every month, you can save an SIP. So I will always tell people, let's say there's a young person here who's maybe 25, 30, whatever, has 30,000 rupees. I would say, don't start with 30,000. So I have a golden rule, Sarthak, and maybe I'll transition to that. If somebody asks me, वरुण यार हम कैसे करें, बड़ा कंफ्यूजिंग है, बहुत मुश्किल है, मैं कहता हूँ कुछ मत करो, 3 महीने ये चीजें करो. पहली चीज, सबसे पहले 1,000 रुपए से ज्यादा का कुछ नहीं डालोगे आप. 1,000 rupees, okay? It's called the 1,090-day rule, at least for me.
Okay.
So what you do is you start with $1,000. In those $1,000, buy as many things that you're curious about. What would I recommend you to try? I would buy any one stock that you like. यार आप कोई तो स्टॉक आपको अच्छा लगता होगा, और कोई भी चीज आप ज्यादा नहीं खरीदोगे, right? You'll buy small of ones. You buy any one stock. Okay? And if you find that stock is too expensive, क्योंकि आप बोलोगे मैं रिलायंस खरीद रहा हूँ, तो रिलायंस 2,300 कुछ, तो आप एक छोटा स्टॉक खरीदो जो आपको अच्छा लगता है. Then please buy one ETF. ETF क्या होता है? The combination of stocks. तो आप एक निफ्टी का ETF खरीद लो, बहुत सिंपल है, 170 रुपए का आता है. उसके बाद आप एक बॉन्ड खरीदो, कोई भी एक म्यूचुअल फंड खरीदो. ये मत सोचो कि मैं क्या खरीद रहा हूँ, क्यों खरीद रहा हूँ यार. हाफ द टाइम्स वी शॉप इन द सुपरमार्केट विदाउट थिंकिंग, right? I'm saying, can you please forget 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever is an amount, and please don't be greedy. Okay. So then, and you buy any one bond. Now you've got one stock, one ETF, one bond, one mutual fund, one SIP. You want to be a bit more exotic? Then you can say, I want to buy one large cap mutual fund, one mid cap, one small cap. ठीक है. थोड़ा सा और जिसको exotic होना है, जिसको थोड़ा सा और exotic होना है, मैं बोलता हूँ एक international mutual fund भी आप खरीद के देखो. Because why should all your money be only working in India? If you are buying Apple phones, if you're seeing Google, if you're seeing Facebook, you're doing Zoom on this call, these are all international stocks. So you might want an exposure to American market. ठीक है, तो आपने सारी एक एक चीजें खरीद ली. I can tell you, you don't need to spend more than 2,000 rupees. And I call it spend and not invest. And I'll come back to that, because in your mind, think I'm spending, I'm not investing. So step one, once you bought, for the next 90 days, promise yourself you're not going to do any transaction. Okay. Like literally, अगर आपका स्टॉक जिस पे आपने पैसे डाले डबल हो जाएंगे, आप अपने आप को हीरो नहीं समझोगे. अगर आपके हाफ हो गए, आप अपने आप को जीरो नहीं समझोगे, but you will not touch that. Okay. Now the price every day will go up and down, because every day you'll see on your portfolio, okay, this is going up. Be curious. Sarthak, I believe that you should never take advice, because no advisor knows you as well. It's my, look, advisors are fantastic people and they have a value. But it's like saying, I'll teach you car driving, and आप घर पे बैठ के आपको गाड़ी सिखा रहे, नहीं सीख सकते आप, right? I think to learn a car, you need to be out there with the advisor, knowing something. And the problem is people are not making that first thing. So then every week, please spend 15 minutes of your time, not more. 15 minutes every week. So you've got 90 days, 12 हफ्ते. आप धीरे धीरे हर हफ्ते 15 मिनट लगाओ ये सोचने में, अरे यार मैंने निफ्टी ETF में डाला था, उसका क्या हुआ. तो एकदम से आपको दिखेगा कुछ तो हुआ होगा, ऊपर गया होगा या नीचे गया होगा. Then just Google, saying, okay, I don't know, you bought Mirai Nifty ETF or Nippon or ICICI. बहुत सारे choices हैं, आपको जो अच्छा लगे. Don't think, is this better than that? Please don't do that research. Okay. Think of it like a supermarket. You're going and buying for, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 bucks. You don't do so much research. You don't Google, आप कौन सा sugar ले रहे हो, आप कौन सा कॉफी पी रहे हो. अच्छा, उसको पूरा गूगल नहीं करते हो. आप एडवाइजर से फोन करके पूछते हो कि अच्छा ये शुगर अच्छा है क्या. नहीं, वी डोंट आस्क. वी से ओके, इट्स ITC का आटा, ले लेते हैं यार, कितना बुरा होएगा, राइट? इट्स गुड, इट्स इजी. एंड आई थिंक समवेयर वी नीड टू ट्रांसलेट दैट इजीनेस एंड कॉल इट अ स्पेंड. नाउ हियर इज व्हाट विल हैपन. Two things can happen. A, you become a super hit. All the things that you chose, because either market went up or because you're the greatest stock picker in blind, you decided to succeed. When you succeed, please do not become greedy. We call stock market में दो ही चीजें हमें मैनेज करनी होती हैं, greed and emotion, greed and fear. Don't become greedy thinking I invested, so I am God. Now I will put 20,000 rupees behind this. That's when the mistake happens. So first 90 days, promise yourself, and Sarthak and everybody else who's listening, that's the toughest thing to do. The toughest thing to do is 90 days, you will not sell anything. You will just watch. Worst case क्या होएगा कि 90 days में आपने मान लो रिलायंस में इन्वेस्ट किया, रिलायंस बंद हो जाएगी, नहीं होएगी, बट वर्स्ट केस वही हो सकता है और आपके 2,000 रुपए चले जाएंगे. But you will see the fun, because you will start reading, you will start understanding. I think 90 days from there, you will see, and I call 30, 60, 90. So on 30th day, you now understand something. Okay. It's like swimming. You went to the beach, you sat down on the beach, you are now starting to feel the water. Day 30 to day 60 is your second exercise. So first exercise is very clear. whatever money you have, 2,000, 1,000, हर चीज का please एक खरीदो. I'll just repeat for everybody's knowledge if you have notes, you're taking it. Please buy any one ETF. I would recommend buy Nifty because it has 50 top stocks of India. It is the simplest thing to do. Buy any one large cap stock which you know. आपको कुछ भी stock जिसका brand आपको पता हो जाके खरीद लेना, कुछ भी. But एक ही खरीदना please. पांच नहीं खरीदना, एक यूनिट खरीदना है. Like literally आप एक टॉफी खरीद रहे हो वैसा, right? Then third, please buy any one bond. Fourth, please buy any one mutual fund that you like for 100 rupees, not for more. If you are exotic and you have an exotic mind and you want to do a bit more, buy one large cap mutual fund, one mid cap, one small cap. And if you're really, really exotic, buy any one international mutual fund. Okay, this is all I would do. At the end of day 30, you would have read. In a week, you have to spend 15 minutes, not more. Month 2, it becomes a bit more exciting. Month 2, now your next task is to find a comparable. Let's say you invested in Vodafone, you will start seeing, अच्छा Vodafone का competitor कौन है? देखते चलो जाके. Vodafone का competitor कौन है? आप Airtel देखोगे या Jio देखोगे, right? उसके बाद मान लो आपने निफ्टी का ETF लिया and you decided to buy Nippon. आप देखोगे अरे यार तो ICICI भी यही चीज देता है. क्या डिफरेंस है इन दोनों में? और आप गूगल में डालो व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन ICICI निफ्टी ETF एंड निप्पन निफ्टी ETF. आपको एकदम से गूगल बताएगा देयर इज सम information and you will start seeing. So month 1 to month 2, we only focus on that, right? So just information gaining. Month 3 is it becomes interesting, even more interesting, and you slowly start getting to your first transaction or second transaction. Is day 60 to day 90 is what I call the time when you become closer to an advisor, right? You start to know yourself. Is you find one buddy. Okay, एक आपको दोस्त ढूंढना है. व्हाट्सएप पे ग्रुप वाले दोस्त नहीं जहां पे आप सब डालते हो, वो नहीं. एक ग्रुप, वन बडी, like I can call Sarthak and say, Sarthak, what do you think about Nifty ETF? Right? And Sarthak is like, अच्छा मैं तो ऐसे सोचता हूँ. So you find one buddy who can then you can talk to. So that's your day 60 to day 90. Trust me, at the end of day 90, you will forget that Varun existed ever in your life. Right? And Sarthak, that's my advice to people who are not doing it, that if you don't do it, look, you're missing India. India is booming. We're doing well as a country. People are working hard and growing their money. So yeah, Sarthak, back to you.
So and exactly the right point for all audience that you start somewhere, as Varun has easily pointed out, that his 1,000 rupee and 90-day rule, that nobody should be greedy, and you're starting in 1,000 rupees, a minimum, the most minimal amount, and after 3 months is when you actually understand something. Why did it grow? Why did it didn't grow? There's a step-by-step process which Varun has beautifully explained, that how are you learning and what do you learn while investing into stocks? And more importantly, he's really pointed out that it's the most important thing that you do not miss the India growth story. How are you seeing the India is growing? Sensex is booming, Nifty is booming, money is being poured into the Indian economy. And that is always shown through this. If each company is growing, the stock market is booming. It's easier said than done. Ek cheez, I as an individual, I can also say ki when COVID was there, everything was going down. Businesses were down. Everything was down. Only one thing was going up, that was the stock market. Everybody was trading stocks. He's right that money never sleeps. And how do you see that? There is people working around this stocks, money is constantly changing hands, and you can always see that there is something or the other moving in the stock market. And for everybody's question, but is there any right age to start? Can someone start at 60, or is that someone should start at 25? When we have understood the rule, 1,000 rupees in 90 days, but if someone wants to start, should they go beyond the normal FD route ki bhai 8% se beyond bade? And Varun is actually saying that for all the audience members, that money lying in the bank is money being wasted. You should actually think about inflation, that your 6 to 8% of FD rates will never cover the inflation that's ongoing. So if you want to grow in life, if you want your money to become wealth, or if you want to create wealth, you should start investing now. And how do you start investing? Is there any right age? Can someone at 70 also invest and learn, or is that it's only a young man's game?
Honestly, I have customers, and so we've now about $2 billion in AUM, Sarthak. So that's about 17,000 crores. Okay. And we have over 2 million customers. We are broker number 9 in India, mutual fund distributor number 3. And I can tell you one very funny thing. The reason I quoted those statistics is, and we don't market, right? You'll never see Paytm money marketing, right? And I joined 4 years back, and I said, the only marketing I want to do is product and tech. अच्छा सा platform बनाऊंगा, open, transparent, simple, and then people will come and learn and get going, right? Because for me, learn first, invest later, right? That's my mantra for life. Now, I have got a customer, Sarthak, who's 18 years and 1 day old, literally. And I'm sure the customer is from Surat. Okay. And, I was very curious. I called the guy, I said, happy birthday to you. He said, sir, kal tha birthday. So, he obviously didn't know who I am. So he's like, customer service se phone kar rahe ho, aap mere liye please kar batao. Right. So I said, I spoke to the guy, young guy, and I asked, why did you open an account? And he had a very nice story. He said, my father told me, I wish I'd done this 30 years back. Right. And so he said, I want you to get started. On the other end, I have a 74-year-old customer who basically, retired as a painter. Like literally, he's a not mathematical person at all. At 74, he's my oldest customer. At 74, he started opening an account and started to, invest. And, I called that customer up because I speak to my customers. I called the customer and I said, sir, how are you doing? What are you doing? This person, amazing person I spoke to, had asset allocation, risk management, and what I call an investing strategy worked out. And funnily, he had only started learning 6 months back. He'd never done anything all his life. And I asked, why are you doing it, sir, now? He says, yeah, I can see India. I at least have 10 more years of my life. And, I have this pension money. I have my retirement corpus. मैं देख रहा हूँ यार 10 साल से बैंक वाले तो कहीं से कहीं पहुंच गए, लेकिन मेरा बैलेंस वही है. So I want to change that. And, he had an asset allocation strategy in mind. And he said, यार वरुण, worst case क्या होएगा? मेरे 20% जो मैं डाल रहा हूँ इसमें, वो 15% हो जाएगा. But, surprisingly, he's very disciplined. I think with age, you learn some things, right? Extremely solid. So there's no right age, Sarthak. I think the only point I tell people, A, please have a plan. We have your asset allocation, and we'll talk about risk management in a bit, because that's important. Risk appetite, जो हम कहते हैं बार-बार, क्योंकि there is volatility, there is up and down. Volatility क्या होता है? Roller coaster ride, right? You go up, you go down. How do you feel when you go up, you go down? Nothing more. It's a fast elevator, right? And I think most people, there's no right age. The only right age is learn first, right? If you don't learn first and you do it, every age is wrong age.
So coming to that question, just for the audience, like 1,000 rupees invested into real estate versus 1,000 rupees invested into gold versus 1,000 rupees invested into FD versus 1,000 rupees invested into the stock market in 2022, say last year, or for a 10-year horizon, whatever you feel deemed fit. Kya growth rate hai, so that audience can understand the stock market versus the other assets or the other investment opportunities out there.
Yeah. So I think mathematically we should calculate, right? So I have, by the way, just to be very open on my asset allocation, I have about 50% of my money in real estate, right? And the reason for that is, more than anything else, I want to live a good life, right? I don't actually consider it as an investment. So first, your house is not your investment where you live. It is your happiness. So every time somebody says, Varun, should I invest or should I rent? मैं कहता हूँ यार खुश रहो पहले. सबसे पहले happiness. And happiness का literally, if you want to live in a good house, please do, because I think it's fantastic, right? It makes you feel happy from inside. You work to live in a proper house. So house is not an investment. And I think Sarthak used this word real estate. Real estate could be an investment. Okay. So your first house or your most loved house is not an investment, by the way. Okay. It's not your wealth, because you can't liquidate it. You can't sell it, because if you sell it, where will you go? Right. So please don't consider it, because I see a lot of people saying, hey, my house is worth 2 crores and therefore I'm 2 crores rich. Right. And I'm like, no, you're not, because you have only 10 lakhs in your bank account and tomorrow that's your money. Right. And how much do you have in your stocks? How much do you have in your mutual funds? So your second house is your investment. So let's get that clarified first. Okay. So let's now talk about real estate versus gold versus stock versus ETF versus bonds. ये मैं 5 category में broadly बांट रहा हूँ for purpose, and maybe mutual funds. Okay, let's take mutual funds and then talk about all these 6 categories. Real estate, calculate very simply the amount of money you've spent, okay, which is actually the house purchase that you did, add up all the interest that you would have made had you not put this money with the builder, but you had put this money with your bank, because that's the simplest thing you could do. ठीक है, लोग भूल जाते हैं कि अगर मैंने बिल्डर को 5 साल अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन प्रॉपर्टी में, और मैं आपके सेकंड घर की बात कर रहा हूँ, फर्स्ट की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, फर्स्ट में आप पूरा अपना पैसा लगाए, ठीक है. बाय द वे, आई हैव एम्प्टीड माय बैंक अकाउंट टू बिल्ड माय फर्स्ट हाउस. ओके, सो if you are building your second house, you are paying to the builder, let's say in an under construction property. Please calculate, it is very simple. Year 1, let's say you paid 10 lakhs. In year 5, the cost is not 10 lakhs, my dear friends. The cost is 10 lakhs and the FD interest that you would have lost for 5 years, at least, right? So let's say you're making 7%. So 7% is 70,000 bucks into 5, right? Then you calculate all the effort that goes to managing a real estate property, because आपके taxes लगते हैं, बहुत सारी और भी चीजें लगती हैं जो आपको दिखता नहीं है, brokerage लगता है, आप सब ऐड करके what we call total cost of ownership, TCO, एक बहुत सिंपल फॉर्मूला है, यूज दैट, मेक अ वेरी सिंपल शीट या पेन पेपर पे लिख लीजिए, इट्स नॉट टू टफ, कि आपने ब्रोकर को कितना दिया, बिल्डर को कितना दिया, कब दिया, उस पर इंटरेस्ट लगाइए, 5 साल के बाद यू हैव नाउ टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ ओनरशिप, दैट्स योर कॉस्ट. व्हाट्स योर इनकम? There are 2 streams of income. There is rental income, or there is sale of the property. If there is rental income, most people say, I make a rent of 75,000 rupees. Actually, you don't. You make 75,000 minus taxes, minus etc., minus brokerage you pay, minus the cost of collecting rent, which is not easy. But okay, let's say financially, आप rent minus taxes, minus income tax, property tax, maintenance सब लेके आपको एक net amount आया. वो आपकी income हो गई. तो लेट्स से यू स्पेंट अ करोड़ बिल्डिंग अ हाउस, और आपका रेंट आ रहा है, तो आपका 50,000 रेंट आ रहा है साल का, तो 6 lakhs हो गया. 6 lakhs माइनस टैक्स स्लैब, अगर आप 3 लाख के 30% के स्लैब में हो, तो आपके 4,20,000 रुपए आपके आए. व्हाट्स योर रिटर्न? 4.2 lakhs डिवाइडेड बाय 1 crore. वेरी सिंपल. सो 4.2%. ओके, देन फ्रॉम दैट you say, which is my next concept, which I think is very important. It's called ROTI or ROTI, which is return on time invested. ठीक है, बहुत ही सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट है कि आप टाइम लगाते हो ना जिस चीज में, आपके टाइम की कुछ तो वैल्यू है, राइट? नाउ इज इट इजी टू मैनेज रेंट? आई हैव 2 apartments. Honestly, it is so tough that I've sold them, because eventually if it goes empty for 3 months, you're not making 4.2% anymore. Now you're making 3.5% or 3%, right? Because आपने रेंट ही कलेक्ट नहीं किया उन 3 महीने के लिए, which happens to every house, right? Because they go empty and all of that. People say, hey, look, on my apartment now I'm making capital gains. Real estate can make tons of money, and sometimes with the sell of the apartment you make another 50-60 lakhs. 1 crore का आपका अपार्टमेंट 1.5 crore में बिक गया, आपने बोला 50 लाख मिले, गवर्नमेंट ने 20% लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स ले लिया, तो आपके पास रहे 40, तो आप बोलते हो 40 लाख और 1 crore मैंने डाला, मेरे रिटर्न बन गई, डबल हो गया मेरा पैसा, 40%. I think you have to calculate the time value. What we've noticed in real estate is great real estate deals are between 4% to 8%. That's what you make post taxes, right? So that's the return. Now, some people make 100%. They're fantastic real estate investors. But on an average, in India, on second house, third house, you make anywhere from 4 to 10, maybe 4 to 8. Okay. So you have to calculate this number. Please don't presume every apartment in India makes money, right? And like everything else, apartments after some time start losing money. That's why people invest in land. But land को monetize करने का जो खर्चा जाता है, time value of money जाता है, वो अलग खर्चा है, right? So that's your first asset, which I think gives 4 to 10, 12%. Let's talk about the second one, which is gold. I personally believe everybody should have some exposure to what I call commodities. Gold is a good product because gold always has a anti-effect. अब गोल्ड खरीदने के तरीके होते हैं. लोग क्या करते हैं, कहते हैं मैंने गोल्ड चेन लिया हुआ है, लॉकर में बंद करके रखा हुआ है, दैट इज गुड वैल्यू ऑफ गोल्ड. I challenge that a bit to say against that, why would you not invest in a sovereign gold bond? Because look, कहते हैं मैंने gold chain खरीदा है. People forget that gold chain has a wear and tear which happens. Second, quality is really questionable. Is it really 24 karat? Third, there's a cost of the locker. There's a cost of your mind that when you go for a holiday, oh, somebody going to steal my gold chain. So there's a digital way to do exactly the same thing. It's called sovereign gold bond. If somebody asks me, should I invest in gold? I will say definitely have asset allocation. अगर आपके पास 1 लाख रुपए हैं तो उसमें 10% तो गोल्ड में होना ही चाहिए. बट किस गोल्ड में होना चाहिए? प्लीज कैलकुलेट रिटर्न ऑन टाइम इन्वेस्टेड एज कंपेयर टू बाइंग फिजिकल गोल्ड. You buy physical gold for fashion, fantastic thing to do. There's no comparison to having a nice, like, once upon a time I used to love gold chain. अब कोई मुझे बोलेगा sovereign gold bond पहन के party में जाऊँ, मैं कहूँगा यार ये कैसी चीज. You can't wear a gold bond to a party. So please don't compare the two things, right? They're two different things. But if you're investing in gold, think about sovereign gold bonds. The government gives it, it's central government. आपको 2.5% interest मिलता है आपके पैसे पे, plus the gold upside is yours, right? So if you're really thinking about gold, which I think everybody should, they should think about that. Let's come to stocks. Stocks can give you anywhere from 5% to 500%. I always tell people, don't be greedy. If you can make 10, 12%, it's fantastic. It's not bad at all, because you don't want to be a professional trader, right? And everybody tells me, hey, Varun, should I do trading? Please don't do trading, okay? Because who should trade? Somebody who's really worked hard. Who should do futures and options? Who's worked really hard to study. If you study, if you're educated, if you're a chartered accountant, if you have the energy to go to school, if you're a mathematics student, if you want to invest time into this, like anything else, you invest time, you'll succeed. So that's for me, stocks. It can give you 5 to 500. What I would recommend is stick to 10, 12. So if you don't have a risk appetite, buy large cap stocks, buy in small quantity, see yourself, like I told you, my 90-day rule. Then if I go to bonds, bonds is very, very interesting. You can have corporate bonds or government bonds. Bond में interest fixed होता है, bonds में भी risk होता है. It's not risk free. Central government bond में risk नहीं होता है. Central government bond is basically Indian government guaranteeing. Like the Indian government guarantees the banks, kind of. So central government bond is safer than a fixed deposit. Okay, बैंक आपका पैसा लेके वहीं डालता है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड में और इन बिटवीन फी बनाता है. तो अब आप डायरेक्ट बॉन्ड खरीदो, क्यों बैंक के थ्रू जाना है? अगर आपको एफडी ही करना है तो buy a central government bond yourself, right? It gives you anywhere from 7% to 8%, right? Then you have corporate bonds giving you 10 to 14. ETFs are a great way, low cost way of owning mutual funds. ETF का मतलब होता है exchange traded fund. जो आपकी AMC म्यूचुअल फंड बनाती है और कहती है म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, वही लोग ETF बनाते हैं. तो फॉर एग्जांपल ICICI Prudential will have, let's say, a Nifty mutual fund and they will have a Nifty ETF. सेम चीज है, ETF आपके डीमैट अकाउंट में आएगा, म्यूचुअल फंड आपके एक और म्यूचुअल फंड अकाउंट में आता है. It's called SOA, but I don't want to get technical, right? Because it's not important for you. So your Nifty ETF, for example, आप म्यूचुअल फंड अगर आप एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के थ्रू खरीदते हो तो आप उसमें 2% कमीशन देते हो. Okay, and for me, commissions are important. You should know how much you pay, right? Like you should know how much you pay for things. आप घर में अगर रियल एस्टेट में आप जो कमीशन निकालते हो, वैसे आप जब इक्विटी खरीदते हो तो आप ब्रोकरेज देते हो. You pay to brokers like me. So please calculate that amount, right? And we'll talk about expenses at the end. But let's say you're buying a ETF. If you're doing MF, mutual fund SIP, if you're doing any mutual fund, you're paying 2% commission today in India for equity. And you don't pay on the amount you give. So let's say you invested 1 lakh rupees and in 5 years, the amount became 3 lakhs. You're paying on 3 lakhs, 2% to the guy who came and took a signature from you on the first day. I don't mind that we pay the distributor 2% first year. थोड़ा सा अगले साल भी कुछ दे दो, लेकिन 10 साल के बाद पर्पस नहीं है, right? So when you buy a mutual fund, you pay like that. When you buy an ETF, you don't pay like that. You pay what you call an expense and a tracking error, which is far lower. It's 0.3%. Okay, there are ETFs available for Nifty with 0.2%. So compare 0.2 and 2, multiply that by 10. That is the return you're gifting away to somebody else. Okay. Now, I didn't want to be technical about all this, but my 90-day rule, if you follow that, आपको मैं बता रहा हूँ, मेरी जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी, आप खुद ही करोगे. ये सब मैं जो आपको बातें बता रहा हूँ, right? So that's the idea. Then let's go to mutual funds. It's the most fantastic thing I think the Indian government, SEBI, all of us are doing together. Please start an SIP. Don't think too much कि कौन सी SIP करनी है. My recommendation, save every month. Like I told you, income minus saving is equal to expense. A few very basic principles in life. I do SIPs. I run a stockbroking platform, right? I am maybe knowledgeable because I just run it. 10 साल से कर रहा हूँ, so I know all this. Even then I do SIPs. So if I can do an SIP, then you can. Why should you do an SIP? Because मुझे लगता है return on time invested. एक प्रोफेशनल फंड मैनेजर वो दिन भर यही करता है, उसको दे दो आप अपने पैसे, right? And then he can manage for you, right? And that's what an SIP is. That's what a mutual fund is. So I would recommend people then choose 4 or 5 different types of categories you like, split money equally at the beginning. Very simple formula. तो कौन से तरह के म्यूचुअल फंड्स होते हैं? लार्ज कैप होता है, मिड कैप होता है, स्मॉल कैप होता है, मल्टी कैप होता है, डेट फंड्स होते हैं, अलग अलग तरह के फंड्स होते हैं. आई वुड रिकमेंड कीप इट वेरी सिंपल, डू वन लार्ज कैप, मिड कैप. इफ यू डोंट माइंड बिट ऑफ रिस्क, डू स्मॉल कैप, बिकॉज स्मॉल कैप मतलब छोटी कंपनी, ऊपर नीचे होती है, राइट? सो इट कैन गो अप वेरी हाई, इट कैन गो लो. So do a bit in everything, and last I want to spend Sarthak some time on risk allocation. For me, that's very important.
So a
Right.
question with the audience is asking is constantly ki, how do you choose the right stock? So people are knowledgeable enough and they want to choose the right stock. What is that strategy? And then the other question is that how are you sure that the company that you're choosing will give you better returns than probably the FD rates or the bond rates?
Yeah. And I'll just finish and then I'll start picking up the questions. I think for me, when we did all these returns, you have everything now. One last thing, you have to pay a fee to everybody. No cup of tea in the world is free. Please remember that. I see people telling me, Varun, it should all be free. Like I see people telling advisors, you should give me advice for free. Why? You don't go to a hotel and say, yaar, mujhe cinema free mein dikha do. Why should a financial person give anything for free? But there is a cost. I think as a consumer, you must know the cost. And I love our regulator. Everything is transparent. Somebody asked a question, how do I know it's 2%? Please open your mutual fund statement. साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है आप कितना कमीशन किसको दे रहे हो, right? There's something called a regular mutual fund and a direct mutual fund. In a regular mutual fund, you do pay commission, right? It's very clearly written. The fact is we don't see our statements. Every broker is supposed to disclose to you what brokerage we charge. And it is there right on the
just to cut you, there was just this question which some person has said ki, there's no direct load, there is no 2% brokerage these days.
It's not called brokerage, it's called TER, total expense ratio, which is what you pay. So when you look at your mutual fund statement, if you're doing a direct mutual fund, you pay one commission, which is the asset management fee to the asset manager. If you're doing a regular mutual fund, you pay two fees. You pay one commission to the asset manager to manage your money, and you pay one commission to the distributor who got your signatures, right? Or if you applied with your bank. So that's called a regular mutual fund. And all these statements and charges are very clearly displayed in your statements. You should look at it. It's your bank statement. जब हम बैंक स्टेटमेंट देखते हैं और 5-5 रुपए देखते हैं उसमें, right? Why don't we see a broker's statement where it is very clearly written how much charge have you paid to us, right? But I just want everybody to know that nothing is free. Okay, like this whole system is just like any other system, like e-commerce, like khana pina, everything else, right? There's a charge. So my last thing, Sarthak, I wanted to say is when you compare all these categories, please calculate returns minus fees and then arrive at your net return. Gives you a very nice picture. I still believe people should have some exposure in stocks. Not 100%. There are two ways to do it. Either aap khud karo and I'll start picking up the questions, or you go through mutual funds.
Okay. So going on that, either aap khud karo. What parameters do you suggest for people to look at companies? And how do you trust on the online data, as some people are asking?
Yeah. Look, so first, please, the best way to do it is not to trust anybody else, right? Whenever your friend calls you and tells you, "Maine to isme invest kar diya hai, and this is the single best stock to buy, yaar, main sare paise laga raha hu isme," please do not follow tips. Do not follow Instagram. Do not follow Twitter. Do not follow. Read and learn from there, but please do not follow stock tips. It's the horrendous decision to do. It's the worst thing you can do. Okay. Please read all of that. There's great information out there, but do not invest basis that. So what do you look at? I look at it three simple ways to do it. A, look at fundamental data. What is fundamental data? What are profits? What are revenues? ऊपर जा रहा है, नीचे जा रहा है. बहुत ही simple है. एक बड़ा अच्छा website है. It's a company called Screener. I enjoy it personally. You can go to NSC, you can go to BSc, but I like Screener. बहुत ही simple है, free tool है, easy चलता है. I have nothing to do with it, right? It's just something I use. It's a young startup running from Lucknow. Last 10 years, a bunch of very cool people, they run it. It's a beautiful tool. Just use their free version. You're all simple. You're not professional traders, so don't go for the pro version and all that. Keep it simple. Just look at very quick numbers. Na? Company की revenue grow कर रही है, नहीं कर रही है. Cost grow कर रही है, नहीं कर रही है. Are they consistent? Do they have any problems that you can see? Is their business model good or not? A lot of people don't even understand what this company does, but invest in it. Okay. So I had a customer who had invested in this company called GMM Fodler. Okay. Like when he called me, I said, yeah, ye kaun si company hai? Like, I didn't know. It's a big company, by the way. Beautiful company, outstanding place, but I didn't know it. He's saying, Varun, I'm stuck in this position now. I said, oh, so you knew about what you were doing? He said, no, I have no clue about this company. So A, please do not invest in things that you don't understand. Fundamental analysis is basically very simple. Revenue, cost, look at the trends. Like if you were to look at your own income, और मैं आपसे पूछूं, how are you doing? आप क्या कहोगे? पिछले 3 साल में मैंने इतने सारे पैसे बनाए, ये मेरा खर्चा हुआ, मैंने पैसे बचाए या नहीं बचाए? Very simple to do, right? So you start there. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is there are a lot of brokerage reports, which are research analysts, professional ones. They're more professional than any fin influencer out there, or more professional than me. For example, I don't give advice because I believe I don't know enough. Literally, I don't know enough. I don't have the time to spend. So मैं आपको advise नहीं करूँगा कि is this stock good or not. But there's enough research reports available. They're 2 pages, 3 pages. If you're putting, let's say, 5 lakh rupees into a stock, it's like you're putting 5 lakhs to buy some part of an apartment. Please read any 2 research reports of any 2 companies. And all the top 50, 60, 100 companies in India have tons of research reports. You should read it. And it's available on Google. It's free. Okay, so there's no cost to it.
And you told about the wonderful tool Screener also for to analyze.
Yeah, just read it and it will tell you this company is doing well. The analyst believes it's bullish. Now, look, if the analyst exactly knew where the stock price was going, then the analyst would be Warren Buffett. Okay, but not all analysts are Warren Buffett. Remember that. Even Warren Buffett hasn't had a great time. Okay, so stock market is always a buyer and a seller. You have to choose who you are, right? And most Indians are buyers because हमें लगता है long term में सब कुछ अच्छा होता है, right? Which is good. We are a positive country, right? So if you're a buyer, which is what you are, and you're not a seller, then you're looking for people and finding a reason that you believe this will succeed. For example, let's say you say, hey, I am trying to think, is Maruti good or not? Because you have a Maruti doesn't mean Maruti stock price will go up. Because you like your car doesn't mean Maruti stock price will go up. You have to go and check, अच्छा मारुति कितनी गाड़ियां बेच रही है, मार्केट शेयर बढ़ रहा है, कम हो रहा है, क्योंकि कितनी सारी और कंपटीशन आ गई है. मारुति की रेवेन्यूज कैसी है, मारुति की कॉस्ट कैसी है, मारुति की मार्जिन कैसी है. फिर आप गूगल करोगे मारुति एनालिस्ट रिपोर्ट और एकदम से आपको 2-3 रिपोर्ट मिल जाएगी, पढ़ लीजिए प्लीज. एंड just go to Screener, you'll get all this data. All of this should take you 30 minutes. So if you're putting 2-3 lakh rupees, I think 30 rupees is good roti or return on time invested. So yeah, I would do that kind of analysis.
Exactly the right point, that you need to do your own research, not trust in anybody's advice. Don't believe anyone. If someone could believe, wo khud hi billionaire honge rather than giving you the advice. The other question posted by our audience is one, which is the funny question, is that what is the best platform to invest in or through the app or something? So asking a Paytm person, would you want to shed some light, or would you like the users to choose? Or
I'll give you an answer on how you should choose, right? So somebody once asked me, Varun, which hotel you like to stay in, right? And I gave my answer saying, I don't know. I choose my hotel depending on what I see, right? Here is what I would tell you. Like you're trying investments and you experiment before you choose, please try 2, maybe 3 platforms. I always believe very simple that, you know, I love India for this reason. The Indian consumer is God for me, right? I literally have, I can tell you, if you ever follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, you write to me, there's nobody else responding, it's me, right? And I have thousands of people I talk to every day because that's how I am, right? वो मतलब मेरा एक responsibility मुझे करना है. तो आपको क्या करना है? I think I would never tell you, you know, I'm Paytm money. I could tell you, please choose my platform. It's the best in the world. But I'll not tell you. I'll tell you, hey, please choose 3. Then please split your money in 3 things. Like I told you, asset allocation. Please choose your investing partner. Choose a physical. Yeah. Choose an investing advisor if you have somebody next to you, and that person will tell you, sir, मैं जानता हूँ ना, आप तो नहीं जानते हो, मैं जानता हूँ. And that person knows if he's SEBI registered and all of that. Okay, please ask basic questions. कि आप कहाँ registered हो, अपना license दिखाओ. वो तो आप basic चीज़ है ना, आप किसी को भी ऐसा पैसा तो नहीं दोगे. तो please ask some very basic questions. अगर आपको एक बैंक में RM है, आपको बोलते हैं सर ये म्यूचुअल फंड खरीद लो, आपको उससे पूछना चाहिए क्यों खरीदो. 3 क्वेश्चन कुछ तो पूछोगे आप उससे कि अच्छा why should I buy? Then he will give you a pitch. Ask him any one counter question. Okay, and that's what you should do. It's your basic due diligence. But I would choose any 3 partners you like. Then For me, there are only 3 rules to choose a broker or a investing platform. I would call myself an investing platform. A, what all can you buy there and you cannot? Because the depth is very, very important, right? Like you should be able to buy everything. It's not easy. Second, I would choose the price that they charge you. It's important. It's return minus cost is equal to the return that goes into your pocket. So ask yourself, what are these guys charging me? Again and again, 1,000 times. Third, look what you feel comfortable with. At the end of the day, you have to feel comfortable in the long run, and then make your choice, right? And last rule, greatest rule of the Indian consumer, every year, review your choices. Indian consumers are not loyal, and I love it because they make people like me work hard all the time, right? Like I literally have to go back every year saying, sir, aap wapis, right? And that's fun. That's good.
We had one more question, that is it what a commodity, I mean, should they invest in commodities or mutual funds? Or, I mean, you've already answered that, but just a very simple answer, that go with purely equities or debt funds or hybrid or commodities, or as you already, I mean, for me, I understand the asset allocation, but if someone's again is asking purely from a commodities perspective, what would you tell them?
I would not, till you're a professional advanced investor or trader, please stay away from commodities, because information arbitrage, and I'm using a technical word, is very high. What has happened good in India in the stock market and mutual fund space is information has become equal. So what Mr. Ambani knows, so does my driver on trading. Okay, information is available for everybody equally. बहुत important rule होता है stock market का और mutual funds का, कि आप सबको information एक होनी चाहिए. फिर अपना आप analysis करो और decision लो. Commodity में the information, because it's 24 hours, international markets, the information is so complex. So I would never do commodity till we are able to fix some basic things in India. And I would recommend all retail investors to stay away from commodity investing and trading. Like, look, if you're a businessman who has business in gold, please go buy gold futures, because that's your business. It's not your trading and investing. But if you say, no, I want to do it, but a lot of people still want to do it. So there are a lot of mutual funds which give you commodity-based silver ETF hai, gold ETF hai, aap wahan jaake khareed lo. But please jaake do not trade in oil. Like I have this 26-year-old saying, Varun, I want to trade in oil. If you don't open that on your platform, I will leave. I said, yeah, I'm never going to open oil trading on Paytm Money ever, because you are going to deal with the world's biggest oil suppliers. And I don't know where there's a war breaking out for the oil price to rise. And my retail investor is going to face a problem, right? Because nobody can expect these things. So please only invest in trade and things. I wouldn't do commodities, right? And if you meant commodity investing and trading, if you like commodities as gold, as silver, bahut tarike. Like I said, for gold, my best option is a sovereign gold bond. Second best option is gold ETF. For silver, it is silver ETF. All these are available on one click. It's cheap.
One more question is that what's the degree of risk in overseas stock or mutual funds? I mean, since something that is, we see the Indian economy, we see the Indian story, but how about any other US story, Ukraine, with the Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Palestine war, so many things are there. So do we trust any overseas mutual funds or...
Yeah, brilliant question. Whoever asked this, I can clearly, I must compliment that person for asking the right question, because I think the question has two deep meanings inside it. I love the question not because he was asking or she was asking for international. I love the question because what's the risk? The greatest question. I will first answer the risk question and then come back to international. I believe everybody should do international. I have a open disclosure. I have a 10% of my investment in my portfolio in international. Right, that's my asset allocation. So I keep 10%. Agar mera portfolio बढ़ जाता है, I'm able to save more. I keep 10%. Why is mine 10%? Because I literally don't have time. And so मैं क्या करता हूँ? अगर मैं 10 चीजें तो divide by 10 करके डाला हुआ है मैंने. Okay, so there's no rational behind my maths, and this is for me, not for you. You can choose your way of doing it. I just have it simple. So let's say I had 50 lakh rupees and my 50 became 55. I got additional 5 lakhs. Then my 10% has to go up by the equal amount. तो 50,000 रुपए मैं और डालता हूँ ताकि मेरा साल के एंड में सब 10 रहे. तो मैं 10 चीजों में इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ. And that's my story. Why do I invest? Because I want diversification. Right. So I have personally invested in what I call FANG. It's a FANG ETF. FANG is basically top 10. It's Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Nvidia, and all those stocks. Okay. So I've chosen that. You can choose. There's so many options. There's Motilal Oswal, Nasdaq, S&P 500. बहुत सारे ETFs हैं. सबसे सस्ता तरीका है. Please do not try and buy direct stocks. If you do, calculate the value. So it's a good example. International, you can do in two ways. A, you can buy a mutual fund or an ETF, or B, you can directly invest in an American stock. For example, you're directly buying Apple. Why would I not recommend to retail investors? Professional people, different story. Okay. I'm generalizing for retail because that's my audience, right? Retail, if you buy an Apple stock, first you're going to convert your Indian rupee to dollar. तो आप बैंक में जाके कमीशन आपका बैंक लेगा कम से कम 2 से 2.5%. फिर आप उसको रेमिटेंस चार्ज लगेगा, उस पर जीएसटी लगेगा, फिर आप जाके उसको एलआरएस प्रोग्राम की फीस भरोगे अलग अलग, और फिर आप पैसा जाके इन्वेस्ट करोगे, ब्रोकरेज लगेगा. फिर अगर जिस दिन पैसा वापस आना होगा, डॉलर आईएनआर का आप रेट देख लेना, आपका पैसा आईएनआर से डॉलर में जा रहा है, डॉलर से आईएनआर में आ रहा है. सो टोटली द स्टार्टिंग कॉस्ट आई कैलकुलेटेड वंस पर्सनली 6.5%. अगर आप 100 रुपए देते हो तो आप 93.5 पे स्टार्ट करते हो in a direct stock. Please compare that with an ETF international where your fees is 0.4%, 5.5%. Why would you not do that? It's just simple. Hit in, it comes to your demat account, have fun, right? So that's how at least I'm doing it, right, for my own sake, because I believe everybody should diversify, which is the second question, which I really liked inside the first question was risk. I just want to talk about it for 2 minutes. Everybody should know their risk appetite. What is risk appetite? अगर आपके पास 100 रुपए हैं और मैं उसको 0 कर दूं तो क्या हो, right? Would you be worried? Would you cry? Would you feel bad? Would you say, it's okay, it's fine? That's called risk appetite, right? So for example, if my total savings is 25 lakh rupees, on 50,000 rupees I can have a very high risk appetite, but on 24.5 lakhs I have zero risk appetite, for example. That's called risk appetite, right? So what you do is you say, if I have 1 lakh rupees to save, and let's say I'm investing this in 5 things, 20% each. Some 20% you can take a lot of risk. Other 20 you want it really safe. Where you want it really safe, either it's a fixed deposit or a central government bond. Where you have risk exposure, please do international, please do small cap, please do mid cap. वो आपकी choices है. Right? So risk is in your hands. There is no one risk appetite for the whole world. Okay? Because for me, for example, I have chosen, and I can share with you very openly, there's no secret to my risk appetite. Like I've invested in 10 things. The worst part of my risk appetite, because I said I'm young, I'm 43, I have life to go, I will make money, whatever. I have a nice 2-bedroom apartment saved. So my risk appetite is very, very high. Right? And I don't have kids. So there's nobody that I have to leave something to. और होते भी तो मैं उनको बोलता, मेरे पापा ने तो बोला, वरुण आप अपने पैर पे खुद खड़े हो. I am not going to help you. Okay, my father never gave me, he said, I'll give you great education, I'll give you great values, but you have to learn to stand on your own feet. I'm not going to financially help you, which was fantastic for me, right? But I don't have kids. So what is my risk appetite? I'm far higher in risk. So my lowest 10% is at plus minus 20. ठीक है, अगर मैं 20 चीजों में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा हूं तो मेरा जो सबसे कम है -20% है, जो मेरा सबसे ज्यादा है -60% है. तो मैंने कुछ चीजें ऐसी करी हुई हैं जो मुझे लगता है विच इज टू पुट माय लाइफ, फॉर एग्जांपल, इन अ स्टार्टअप. राइट, व्हेन आई टुक अप पेटीएम मनी, वी वर रियली स्टार्टिंग, and a startup is a 0 to 100 game. Sarthak knows it, I know it. You could be a hero, next day you could be a zero. Okay, it's really fun, but I put my savings into it. Right? So when you're buying, if you're, let's say, investing 1 lakh, ask yourself the first 20,000, how much minus do you want? Don't ask how much plus. Second 20, third 20, fourth, पेपर पे लिख लो, आपका रिस्क हो गया, रिस्क मैनेजमेंट, एसेट एलोकेशन हो गया, फिर आपको ढूंढना है कहाँ इन्वेस्ट करना है. So fairly straightforward.
Thank you very much. We have a load of other questions, but apparently we're out of time. We were given a very strong deadline. On a parting note, I mean, I will actually say, do you want to give the advice to people to how to learn investment stocks, any app or any suggestions? Do you want to just tell them as a parting note, and then we'll say our goodbyes?
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you everyone, because I think this is the last time I'll speak to all of you. Pleasure. If you ever need something personally from me, please write. LinkedIn, Twitter is open, and I'll be happy to. My parting advice is the 90-day rule. One rule, please follow it. Second parting advice, please do not trust anybody else other than yourself. To start, nobody is right. Each one to his own self. Learn first, learn first, learn first. And golden rule number 3 for me is income minus savings is equal to expense. Right? As long as I think you follow these 3, you learn yourself, right? So yeah. So thank you, Sarthak, and thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Varun, for this enlightening session. And I hope the audience have learned so much. They're constantly, and I'm very sure that you're going to get a lot of LinkedIn and Twitter requests from now onwards, asking you a lot of questions about ETFs and mutual funds and commodities and so many things. It's been always a pleasure and an absolute cherished moment that you have given your time and advice to everyone that's been listening. Thank you, Varun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, and have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you.